All right, and we're live. We're back. Dystopian Book Club, Fahrenheit 451, Part 3. Here we are. We got Kitty.
That's right.
We got Daniel.
Janet.
And Jay. We're here talking about Fahrenheit 451
and the kitty.
again. And the kitty. We got to see the kitties there.
Special guest star.
Special guest star. Read the book as well. We were talking about some other books we're looking at. Trying to get some more people coming in on the show. So that's what we were just talking about before we came live. We'll see how that goes. It's some teasers on that. So this is part 3 of Fahrenheit 451. We finished basically the first two chapters or 2 parts. The book split into 3 parts. We hit the first 2 parts. Going into part 3. So we had talked about starting Slaughterhouse 5 in this video. If we finished Fahrenheit 451, I think we're not going to do that, right? We want to just hold that till next time. We'll probably finish Fahrenheit 451 tonight because we're on the end.
I would think
we'll
so,
assume no pressure if we don't, but we'll assume we'll finish it tonight. And whenever we're done, and then next time we can do 2 weeks if we need to, just to give everybody time. We'll jump into Slaughterhouse 5. A strange book.
Right. Yeah. So it goes.
That's for sure.
So it goes.
So it goes.
If you read Slaughterhouse 5, so it goes.
You know what we're talking
about.
All right. So just a high-level overview on Fahrenheit 451. If you're coming in on part 3, it won't make a lot of sense. Go back to part 1. Right. Start over.
Yeah,
you don't want of the book.
You don't want the end of the book.
Right. This is going to be the end of the book. Spoilers on this part if you're coming in here. Written by Ray Bardbury. Ray Bardbury was an American author, screenwriter, one of the most celebrated 20th century American writers, worked in a variety of genres, including fantasy, science fiction, horror, mystery, and realistic fiction. He was born August 22, 1920, lived till June 5th, 2012, which I think is about 92 years. If I did the math quick in my head, nice long life. Fahrenheit 451 was written in 1953, and it's good to keep it in perspective. You know, it's interesting seeing we're Dystopian Book Club. Not to say we won't ever read something that's not dystopian. This is certainly dystopian, but it also has that sci-fi twist. And I don't know that every dystopian book has a sci-fi twist. Just at that time, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, you got your 1984 book, all those books, they were seeing the technology coming in. And I think a lot of people saw a dark side of where that technology would lead us. And maybe we're getting to that point in our
They
own
were right
lives.
about that.
They were probably right about that. Yeah. So interesting because it was written in the 1950s and it's very relatable here now in 2024. So I like to throw that in there. We'll skip through the characters. I don't know if we want to do too much of a summary. Main character's Montag. He's a fireman. His job was to burn books. He has part 1, Hearth and the Salamander. He met a character, Clarice. She was a young lady that went on walks at night. He met her. They became friends, and she kind of opened his eyes to the world. She's a bit of a rebel, a bit counterculture. And culture in this book is not great because firemen are burning books. And
she is a tree-hugging girl.
She is. Tree-hugging girl.
I like her.
You like her. All right.
Yeah. She's
an artist, absolutely.
She's earthy,
an artist.
yeah.
Earthy. She's an artist.
Yeah.
Her eyes are open to the world around her.
In a society where people don't see anything.
Right. Everyone's locked into their parlors, which is like a VR, basically, living room with all the walls are screens and everything's talking to you. So that started to open his eyes to the world. He started to doubt why he would want to be a fireman that burns books. It progresses kind of through
questioning
part
history.
1. Questioning history, right. Did firemen always burn books, or did they actually put out fires at some point? We get into part 2 where he starts hiding books, and then he starts reading books, and he gets caught reading books by Beatty,
Beatty,
the fire chief. gets in trouble for that. And I think they didn't burn down his house yet, right? End of part 2.
They'd he'd already met Faber, and then he'd gone to the station, and then Beatty did his big speech, because I had that little visual thing.
Which was awesome.
His alarm hadn't come through yet, the alarm for it.
Yeah.
I think they're just about to get the alarm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking the notes at the end of chapter 2. It says when they got to the destination, Montauk realized it's his own home. So the fireman that burns books got caught with books, and now they're after him. They're at his house, and they're getting to burn his house down.
Right, but
because that was his original plan. Sorry.
He's got that whole thing going in his mind that he's going to start planting books in other firemen's houses.
Right, he was talking about that. Yeah. He was going to plant books around. A lot of elaborate plans. Yeah, and he did. Faber's a good call out, because Faber's sort of guiding him now in the earpiece. He's an old, I think they said English professor or something like that. Old academic guy that had been keeping the books and reading the books, and they got a copy of the Bible, and they were going to try to figure out how to make copies of it, because it could be the last. I
feel like he's also a printer, because he's saying, "Oh, I've got a friend and this and that," but he also has a room that he's got kind of locked away. So
That's
I feel
true.
like he's
got a friend,
right? I know a guy. I know a guy that could do some printing for you, maybe. Yeah. He's probably in there printing copies right now.
Yeah.
He's the Napster of Fahrenheit 451. Like, don't worry, we're gonna upload this.
Right.
Right.
That's funny.
All right. So that was part 1 and part 2, all kind of rolled in together in a couple minutes, just to catch up where we're at. So they're at Montauk's house. So as they're there, I think they're there at the end of the other one. So starting out at the house, Montauk looks at Clarice's empty house. Beatty believes that he is under her influence, and he berates him. Mildred, Montauk's wife, quickly comes out of Montauk's home holding a suitcase. She's taken away by a taxi. So she was already
She's
packed.
like, I'm out.
Right. She was already packed and ready to go. Maybe she just expected it was going to happen. Maybe a coincidence, but she's like, bye. You got our house burned down.
Right.
Thanks. Montauk realized that she must have been the one to raise the alarm. So that's interesting, because I don't think that was the one to raise the alarm. They were already onto him.
No, one of her girlfriends that were at his little reading that he did.
His private
she
reading.
promptly left and called his butt in.
Yeah.
At least that's what they
screaming. I was screaming at him, "Stop it! What are you doing?
Yeah, don't.
Like,
reach through and shake him.
Yeah, what are you doing? No one wants to hear about your books.
Right.
Yeah. And it was like ruining the whole plan, because that would just expose, but it just also shows his frame of mind, like how just over it all he was.
Yeah, he was off
that
his
was
rocker,
it. Yeah, he was done with it. You're right. He was over it. He's like done with it. Here's books. Look, everybody, books for everybody.
Yeah, he was
There
self-destructing.
Yeah.
That's why you wanted to reach it through the book and shake him, because it's like, what are you even doing? That guy was in his ear, like, you need to stop.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. And it fell apart. And maybe that's what he wanted, right? As I said, kind of self-destructing. So Beatty gives Montauk the order to burn his house himself using the flamethrower. So he's like, here you go. Here's the flamethrower. Go burn your own house down.
Torture.
Right. He warns him that the Hound is watching for him if he attempts to escape. Montauk follows orders and burns his home. When he is done, Beatty arrests him. So Beatty realizes that Montauk is listening. So they're on this, he flamed it, and then they arrest him, and then they're kind of standing around on the sidewalk. And Montauk was talking to Faber, or Faber was trying to talk to Montauk, and there was a bit of a struggle, and then the radio falls from Montauk's ear. So Beatty retrieves it and says he will trace it to find out who the person is on the other end, where he would find Faber, right? Beatty uses more literary quotations to antagonize him and finishes with a quote from Julius Caesar. Montauk attacks Beatty with his flamethrower, burning him severely. So the moment he realizes he was going to go after Faber, he lights him up with the flamethrower.
I've just written a note here. I feel like Beatty actually wanted to die, because like we were talking before, he knows all this literature. you know, and almost to the point where we were maybe semi-thinking maybe he was on their side. And what goes on in a person's head to make them know the truth of the situation and maybe not even agree with the situation and yet still choose to live with it. Like what does that to a person's mind? Like this constant double standard. They know the truth, they can see the truth, but they still just have to keep living under that system. And I reckon he wanted to. I reckon he was welcoming it in a way. Yeah.
No, I think that's a good observation. Absolutely. I think you're right that he maybe felt he was living a lie. You know, just like Montauk was kind of in that same point. Yeah, you're probably right. Beatty was probably tired of it.
But because he'd been compromising himself for so long, you know, that self-loathing and that, you know, I think because he wasn't kept antagonizing him, he saw he was going to get flamed. And instead of like going, whoa, he's
like, all right. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this. Yeah, no, I think you're right on that. And Liminal Space, welcome. You said this is one of my favorite dystopian novels. I read it as a kid and it really increased my love for books. And yeah, I mean, we're all going through it. I think it was a great book. So thanks for being here. I don't think I've ever seen your name before. So welcome. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for joining the live.
Yeah, mad.
All right. So we'll keep going. It is a cool name. Yeah, as I said, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah.
All right. So attacks Beatty with flamethrower, burning severely. The other firemen present don't mind, and Montauk knocks them out. The mechanical hound makes an appearance, and it injects anesthetic in Montauk's leg before he's able to use a flamethrower to destroy it. His leg is numb, and he stumbles away. He makes his way to the place where he concealed the books in his backyard and discovers 4 that Mildred failed to find. There's the sound of sirens, and Montauk tries to continue making his way down the alley. He falls down and starts to cry. He then forces himself to get up and runs until the numbness goes away. After that, he puts a regular seashell radio in his ear and consequently hears a police alert. It's warning people that they need to be on the lookout for him. And it says he's on foot and alone. So he's out.
He's Dr. Richard Kimball right now.
Yeah.
You don't know what that's from.
He's a fugitive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fugitive. He's on the run.
Yeah, he's on the run.
He is on the run. Yep. He's out. They're looking for him. And his leg's injured. So he reaches a gas station. While there, he removes the soot from his face so that he won't appear as suspicious. He hears news on the radio. War has been declared. He begins to cross over an expansive street and is almost hit by a speeding car. Montauk initially thinks that the police are coming to find him, but he comes to realize the car's passengers are children who would have ended his life for no reason. He feels angry and ponders whether they were the motorists who have caused Clarice's death. And there was that situation where he was kind of running across the street and they were trying to hit him, but he like tripped. And he tripped, and then the car, they weren't going to get out of the way. They were going to just run him down.
Right.
Basically, the kids in this story are not very nice.
No.
They were just going to run him down. They didn't care. He sneaks into a house of one of his coworkers and hides the books there, and then goes to a phone booth to sound an alarm. He ventures to Faber's house, informs him of what has happened, and gives him some money to the professor. Faber tells him he should follow the line of the old railroad tracks out of town so he can look for the camps of homeless intellectuals. He instructs Montauk to meet with him in St. Louis at some point in the future. He's going there to meet a retired printer. Faber puts on the TV news, and they learn that there's a new mechanical hound that is being followed by a camera crew that has been set to go after Montauk. Montauk packs his suitcase of Faber's old clothes, instructs the professor as how to get rid of his scent in the house so the hound will not look there, and flees. Faber's plan is to travel out of the city by bus to see his printer friend as soon as he can. So yeah, he gave him old clothes.
He gave him old clothes. He gave him what, whiskey or something to drink.
He gave him something. Yeah, something to hide his scent.
Yeah, because the hound is dialed in on his scent.
Yeah, which was kind of interesting. I mean, because it's a robot, he's like, oh, it must be the bloodhound.
Yeah.
Kind of did the plan, the bloodhound. Futuristic tracking by scent, where nowadays it would be like, he's got your GPS, or hey, he's got your tracking your cell phone or something.
DNA.
Right, he's got your DNA. Yeah, then it was just 1950s. Like, okay, tracks by scent. Right, just super bloodhound.
I've got a line in there that
Yeah.
I was really poetic when they were talking about the helicopters, and the helicopters buzzing like butterflies puzzled by autumn, and just really put a good visual in there. I could just see how they were just kind of jittering around anywhere, but not. Yeah, I just thought that was
right.
Well,
Kind of a nice alliteration.
Right, just happy to be out.
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was like a really. He was actually really good at doing a lot of kind of visual kind of sentencing and sentence structure and stuff. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Especially considering it was written on a rented typewriter.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really have to visualize it all. There's no going back and editing and all that stuff. Yeah, it's all just written out. So no, that's a good call out. Yeah. Yeah, the little helicopters buzzing around. Were there helicopters thing in the 1950s? So I got into the history of helicopters
in Brave New World.
Yeah, because in Brave New World,
that's almost like the car.
Yeah, it was Brave New World was kind of written before helicopters were a thing, but there was a ton of helicopters in Brave New World. So let me see. So I've got the history of helicopters right there. So 1942, the Sikorsky R-4 became the first helicopter to reach full-scale production. So that was 10 years after Brave New World was written, but it was maybe 10 years before this was written. So helicopters, 53. Yeah, helicopters were a thing, but that's a good question, right? I mean, it is. When we read Brave New World, there was a lot of helicopters and they weren't actually a thing. Yeah, Brave New World was a lot of helicopters in Brave New World and they didn't actually exist, not really. So that was super kind of visionary of him to have the helicopters in Brave New World. But yeah, not so much on this, but it's a good call out. Good question.
Yeah.
All right. So going on, oh, wait, I lost my spot. Hang on. All right.
He's just gotten out of Faber's house with all of the.
Yep. So he left Faber's. He's got his pile of clothes and stuff with him. He's got the little scent blocker with him, and he's on the run. He's the fugitive, going through town. All right. So Montauk glances through the windows of other people's houses to see their TV parlors, allowing him to watch the Hound track him on the broadcast, which is pretty clever. You know, because everyone's watching it on the news. He's like, "Where is this thing?" Because you know the cameras are tracking the Hound, so he's getting that kind of preview of what's coming after him. Montauk witnesses the Hound hesitate when it reaches Faber's house before it quickly moves along. So it did track the scent there, but then, you know, kept going. So he was worried. He was worried about Faber getting taken out.
Me too.
Good miss there. Montauk continues his run in the direction of the river and hears a seashell radio announcement saying that everyone needs to look out of their windows and doors after a countdown from 10. And the seashell.
I found that to be the weirdest thing.
Totally weirdest thing. Everybody look outside in 10.
It reminded me of one of those alien type of movies where like everybody stops and stares at the
stares and looks
in the sky, you know. I think they did that on Doctor Who where everybody stopped and looked in the sky. That's what it kind of reminded me of. I'm like, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Well, it was like a tension, like it was to bring up the tension because it was a race from the countdown to get to the river. So the countdown he had to get to the river. So I feel like it was, but it was creepy.
Right. Everyone look outside.
Right.
At the same time.
All you little drones.
Yeah. And the seashell radio is interesting. I didn't look at like when radios were invented, but he didn't really have radios. It was just a seashell radio. So like he didn't have words for like a headset radio, which is
well, they had old headsets.
They had to have had something in the 1950s, but it was just a seashell radio. Yeah,
but it was more military.
Right, it may have been. Yeah, I did not look that one up to see the history of radios. I know, like World War I, World War II, they had radios, but maybe not. Maybe they were whole backpacks and stuff. It wasn't just like something you put on your ear, like your earbuds. All right. So he gets to the river at the point where everyone in the neighborhood begins opening the doors and windows to prevent the Hound from noticing his scent. He goes into the river. The current then causes him to drift away. He's able to avoid the police helicopter searchlights. He sees them fly away. The current brings him to the countryside where he washes ashore. He emerges from the river and is overwhelmed by nature's sights, smells, and sounds. Which I remember that scene. It was super descriptive. He's like, wow, what is all this kind of thing? Like he had left the dark and dreary city, and it was just like, wow, it smells great. It looks great.
It is great.
It was very vivid description.
That's why city people go to the country on vacation. You know.
That's why we live out here.
That's why we moved to the country.
Right. It's very vivid. He was overwhelmed of not being in
and
the
almost
city.
like a rebirthing too, because he's
he comes out of the water. He's awakened.
I got it. I thought it was a beautiful part of the book because like the veil finally fell for him. And he was like, wait a second, this is what Clarice was talking about. You know, he could look up and see all the stars, and Clarice had said before, you guys are so into the mundane of life, you're not like seeing the beauty around you. And I feel like that's his moment when he finally understood what the beauty was around him. It finally hit him coming out of the water. He's able to find the railroad tracks, and he follows them. As he makes his way along them, he has a strong sense that Clarice once walked in the same place, which is kind of basically exactly what you were saying. Let's see. So I think we had a comment. I'll pause for a second. Lotus, they had headsets for Morse code. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Thanks, Lotus, on that. That makes sense.
Yeah. The do stuff. Yeah. All right. He eventually reaches
1910. Sorry, I just.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah. No, go ahead.
1910 was the invention of communication headsets.
No.
So
okay.
There you go.
Not necessarily headphones.
Yeah.
But just communication headsets. 1910.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I wonder why you did the seashells then instead of maybe that was just a different term for them.
I mean, you had to take it
that
from
might have been
something like, what's your next iteration if you don't have these big things
the
on?
giant headsets. Yeah.
I mean, at some point people didn't realize
you're okay.
You'd have to stop calling an operator to connect your phone, and you just be able to dial, If people didn't realize that would happen.
Right. Yeah.
I was thinking too, because like you get the seashell from the ocean and you can hear.
Right. You put this. Oh yeah. And you hear the ocean in it.
And like a tin can phone, you get the tin can phones. Maybe you put the two together, sort of thing. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, it's a cool visual. You can see it. You can see the seashell thing. Yeah. I'm just surprised that I guess just that they didn't have a different name for it, and maybe that's what they called them back then. Yeah. All right. He eventually reaches a spot where there's a fire surrounded by 5 men. So it's the guys sitting around the old campfire. The men's leader perceives him in the shadows and asks him to join them. He declares that his name is Granger. Granger shows Montauk a portable TV set and lets him know that they have been watching the televised chase. They were expecting that he would show up there. While the men at the fire are homeless, they're neat and clean. They also possess a considerable amount of technology. Granger hands Montauk a bottle of colorless fluid. He says so he should drink it, as it will alter his perspiration's chemical index, so the hound will be unable to find him. Granger informs him that the search has gone in the opposite direction and that the authorities will be trying to find a scapegoat to avoid humiliation. The men go on TV to watch as the camera focuses on a man smoking a cigarette, walking down the street. The announcer says that this man is Montauk, and the hound pounces on him. The announcer says that Montauk is dead and that the crime he has committed has been punished. The men think aloud that the police probably selected the scapegoat because he was walking by himself, which is considered to be an antisocial and subversive habit.
Right. Don't go outside.
Can't walk by yourself. Right.
Well, you could. Yeah.
Yeah.
You couldn't go walking around.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Should have worn my antisocial butterfly.
The antisocial shirt. Right. Yeah. And that's a theme, right? We talked about that before. That's a theme in this book, which is the don't go walking around alone. That's a theme in 1984. It's kind of that common theme that I guess people just out for walks at night on their own are up to no good.
I don't get it. Well, I mean, if people don't, you're out walking in nature by yourself, which is against what all of these societies want. They want people to be sheep, to all follow the masses, and you need to keep your sheep together to have the same thoughts. So
consuming, watching TV.
You can't have groupthink if you don't have a group all blending together.
Yeah. And it was interesting, that they found a scapegoat because they wanted to close out the hunt. Right. And
they got to look like they won.
You sort of see that now. Like, people have such a short attention span. If there's going to be a police chase, like, they got to get that guy within a couple hours and it's done and we move on. Right. You don't hear about like week-long police chases. And it's just instantly they got the guy and it's over.
Yeah.
Within an hour or 2 hours.
Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, there was the Zodiac Killer that we saw that show. It was a real thing. The guy that they looked for him for a long time.
Oh, one of my many documentaries.
Right. Yeah. They looked for him for a long time. Like, back in the day, it took a long time to find, but now it's like, hey, there was a shooting, there was this, there was that, and they just find him always immediately.
Yeah. They have to. Yeah. And the news cycle just moves on so quickly.
It does, right? Yeah, it's just over. It's like they find him and it's just over.
Was the Zodiac Killer's name Ted Cruz?
I don't know.
That'd be horrible.
What's the,
a lot of people have heard that rumor.
Oh, that the Zodiac Killer was Ted Cruz?
Yeah, I've heard that rumor.
Oh.
Yeah.
I never heard it. I'll go 50-50, right? Maybe.
I don't know if Ted would like that.
Right, he probably wouldn't like that. She does, yeah. No, we don't know.
I do like Ted Cruz.
She does like herself some Ted Cruz, honestly.
Yeah.
She likes her Ted Cruz, yeah. It's a joke. It's Ted. It probably is Ted Cruz.
But even like with Julian Assange, like where Julian Assange has been hounded for years and years, and his final trial was this week. Yeah. And no one's talking about it because it's just been going on for so long. So it's just so
Need to do a documentary on it.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I feel like he gets used as like a head on a spike, like to try and dissuade people from whistleblowing.
Yeah. Well, and totally off topic, but since we're talking about whistleblowers, so Elon Musk allegedly, and I haven't seen it yet, interviewed Edward Snowden when he was in Russia.
Musk.
I'm sorry, not Elon. No, Tucker.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. Yeah, Tucker. Not Elon Musk.
Tucker
Right.
did.
Tucker Carlson allegedly interviewed Edward Snowden when he was in Russia, so that would be interesting.
Yeah.
And see what he gets.
And
he
was visited Julian Assange a bit. Apparently, he's gone in. Yeah.
I think, I don't know if they knew each other, but they were connected at one point.
I remember all that stuff was like, people are like, this guy's crazy, and he got exiled, and basically like my kids' generation are like, well, of course we're all listened to.
Right, of course we are. Of course they listen to everything.
Yeah, of course. And it went from this gigantic conspiracy to like, well, of course it happens.
Yeah.
What a change we've had.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep going. We're almost getting to the end here. Yeah, section 10. So this is the last section. I've got a lot of different thoughts on the end of this that I want to kind of touch on when we get there, but wait till the end. And you guys might have thoughts too. All right. So section 10, after he sees the death of the anonymous scapegoat on television, Granger remarks ironically to Granger, welcome back to life, to Montauk, welcome back to life. He introduces Montauk and the other men. The other men are all intellectuals and former professors. He informs Montauk that they have found the perfect method of remembering word for word absolutely everything that they have read only once. Each of these people has a different classic in his memory. Granger says that they belong to a network that is made of thousands of people across the country who all store bits of different books within their memories. Granger declares that Montauk is significant because he represents a backup copy of the book of Ecclesiastes.
And not Job.
Not Job. Ecclesiastes. Right. Montauk finally experiences having his reading validated by another person. I'm not good with that word, sorry. Granger asserts that his group awaits humanity becoming ready again for books so that they can improve the world. He states that the most important element they need to keep in mind is that each of them has no importance in himself. Their significance only exists in the fact that they are knowledge repositories. Granger declares that they are ready to wait as long as they need to, and that they will make sure their books are passed down through future generations if that is necessary. He accepts that it's possible that one day the world will go into another dark age, and they will need to experience all of this again. However, he feels entirely confident in the determination of man to save that which is worth saving. They extinguish the fire and then make their way downstream in the dark. So we kind of talked a little bit about that as far as remembering the books and how they remembered the books, and they're kind of all storing
They said
the
like
books.
a colleague of theirs came up with a way to extract
the books,
the memory, or like I don't know what it was, but if you read it once, then you would know it because they claimed that everybody had
somehow
photographic memory.
It was stored in people's memory or something.
Right. They said we all have a photographic memory.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be good at that.
Right.
If it was set to music, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and on that part, the idea of everyone kind of walking around saving the books till after the apocalypse, the movie Book of Eli, which we watched.
Oh, yeah, with Denzel.
Yeah, Denzel his character was basically a walking copy of the Bible. And he kind of crossed the vast wasteland, and to give the spoiler, at the end, he's sitting down with this kind of civilized group saying, all right, give us the Bible, and they're going to like write it down.
Because wasn't Denzel blind?
Denzel, I think he was blind through the whole thing. He was
blind through the whole thing, but we didn't know he was blind.
Right, we didn't know he was blind. But he had memorized parts of the Bible or the entire Bible. And he was going to then, we're gonna capture it now. We're gonna write it down. So the Book of Eli is almost, the entire movie is almost identical to like this part of the book. I wouldn't say the entire book, but the idea
inspired them.
Yeah, the idea that people are, saving the books in their head. They're storing the books. So I thought that was an interesting call out. I wonder if the Book of Eli, whoever wrote it, had read this book and kind of captured that idea.
Yeah.
All right. Granger asserts that the group awaits humanity becoming ready again for books so they can improve the world. He states the most important element they need to keep in mind is that each... Oh, no, I already did that, didn't we? You extinguish the fire and make their way downstream in the dark. Right. Montague examines the faces of the other men to find a special look of resolve or hint of hidden knowledge, but ends up disappointed. They often see this. The other men see this and laugh. They say he shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Montague informs them that his wife is in the city. He's concerned that there must be something wrong with him as a person, as he finds he doesn't miss her and wouldn't be sad if she died, which is kind of a foreshadowing there.
Yeah.
Right.
Great relationship they had.
Right. Granger tells him about his grandfather's death. He emphasizes that his grandfather, who was a sculptor, was a person who did things to the world. Granger thinks that when individuals are able to change even a tiny aspect of the world thoughtfully, people are able to mourn them properly when they die. This is because they successfully leave behind a part of their souls. And the reason I say she wouldn't be sad if she died, which is the last bit here, which is jets are suddenly seen flying over the city and dropping bombs. The explosion destroys the city. The shockwave.
So the war that they said was going to happen, this is it.
The war happened, right? The war they were saying was going to happen. It was just announced, and here come the jets with the bombs, and they blow up the city, destroy the city. Shockwave knocks over the men, and Montague holds on for his life. As he does so, he imagines Mildred the moment before he is to lose her life. The fact that he met her in Chicago suddenly comes to his mind. After that, Montague ponders the book of Ecclesiastes, repeating it to himself. The men get up and eat some breakfast once again after the aftershock dies down. Granger makes a comparison between mankind and a phoenix that rises repeatedly from his ashes. He makes the comment they will first have to erect a mirror factory so they can have the benefit of a long look at themselves. The men begin to travel upriver. They want to help survivors in the city rebuild. And that's it. That is the ending.
I found we have to build a mirror factory because y'all need to take a long look at yourselves.
Take a long look at yourselves, yeah.
Pretty impactful of a statement for that guy to say.
Right. Yeah. Now that everyone's dead, the city's blown up. Hey, Prepper Book Club, welcome. We just finished. No, you're fine. No, thanks for jumping in. No need to apologize at all. We did just finish the ending of Fahrenheit 451. But thanks for being here. Absolutely. You're always welcome. So one thing I was going to point out, I don't want to say they rushed the ending, but to me, the ending felt like Fight Club. if you've seen Fight Club, the very ending scene of Fight Club is they're up in they went up the building to kind of the top floor to look out the window to watch the city blow up. And here the old guys are walking down the country road and boom, the whole city blows up. To me, that's kind of a Fight Club ending in that sense, because it's all everything just kind of blows up in the background.
Yeah. And so the ending's like the beginning, really.
Yeah, right. The ending's a new beginning. Yeah, and that was the ending of Fight Club. That's a good point, which is...
I imagined, which is different where our brains go, because in my mind, they're all walking. Yeah. And to me, I saw the scene in Stand By Me with all those little boys.
All the kids walking?
Walking by the railroad tracks. So it was like almost the child version of where these men, were at in their life. But, yeah, it was a good ending, though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a good ending. Ended with a boom. Everything's wiped out. They said they were going to go back and try to help, and the Mirror Factory is a good comment. But yeah, it just kind of ended with everything getting blown up. And they're ready to start again to bring in the books and share them with everybody.
Yeah, Lotus had said that's not going to lie. Montag lost Mildred years prior.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He did. I mean, she was just, those two were just not, they did not have a good relationship.
No.
She had her little seashells in and had tried taking her life. And they were not good.
Yeah.
No, not at all. And it was, yes.
Sorry, Daniel, but you know how we were talking about the Book of Eli, and I just looked up, just Googled now.
Oh, okay, sure.
Is there a sequel to Fahrenheit 451? Because I know Bradbury wrote a lot of short stories. No joke, there's about 3 entries here saying that the Book of Eli is the sequel to Fahrenheit.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that. Honestly, I did not know that. It's just what came to mind when they were sitting around the campfire talking about how they're all storing the books in their head. That was exactly the Book of Eli.
Yeah.
It's a fan theory. But yeah, like there's Bradbury Forum. There's a few entries saying here that
interesting.
The Book of Eli is actually
that's kind of cool because it would fit. It would absolutely fit. Here he's trying to save the Bible, and the whole Book of Eli was about him on this adventure through the wasteland.
Yeah, I kind of wish that Beatty would have made it to the end. Even though I think he was pretty self-destructive.
Right.
I think that he was kind of like a kindred spirit and was so well-read and knew so many quotes and could string everything together. Like I had said to you before, I feel like he represented the pigs from Animal Farm.
Yeah.
Like the pigs were the only ones to get the milk at Animal Farm.
Right.
Because the pigs made the rules and they had to govern. So of course they needed the milk, which was the best thing. Yeah. And Beatty was like the head of this fire station. And he was, the captain.
Right.
So of course he had all the books and he probably read all the books. He had to because he had so many really good all memorized. So he to me kind of represented the pigs of Animal Farm. So, but at the end, saying that, he couldn't really make it to the end because character-wise, he was better than everybody, so therefore he got to have the books.
Right.
Which was like Brave New World. Yeah. Like that, the people who at the end of Brave New World, he read all the books and he had all the knowledge.
Yeah.
In order to control people, you had to have.
And that's one of the things that piqued my interest about this book is that I actually kind of am maybe worried that I think this is happening now, especially with the misinformation, disinformation, and then all of the AI. Like we're already seeing what a schmozzle truth has become with bloggers and vloggers and stuff like that. Can you imagine in 30 years' time? And so that sets up the leaders and the authorities and stuff like that as being the only trusted source of information, and publicly available knowledge is no one's going to be able to trust it. And with the Sora that's coming out, and that's the thing that really piqued my interest about this, is that I really do feel like if we don't hoard publicly accessible knowledge, there's going to be that bottleneck where we won't be able to know anything's true, and that gives the authorities that control.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. And that ties into 1984.
Right. I was going to say that's
1984.
right
Yeah.
now.
That's absolutely 19. Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. That's 100% 1984 because you have the Ministry of Truth, and that's all they do all day is rewrite history.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're 100% right. And you're seeing that now.
It's happening. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely
like renaming
right.
of countries and everything. Like apparently people are applying for passports that came from Palestine. They're not allowed to have Palestine. It says no country of birth on their passports now.
Wow. Weird. Doesn't exist. Sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, like,
yeah,
they've still got passports from Yugoslavia, and they still say Yugoslavia on it, even though that doesn't exist anymore. But
yeah. So we got Lotus has an interesting one. Have any of you considered that lots of the spokes are hallucinations? Montague is in heavy existential crisis, not far to jump, full delirium, stuff like Clarice, and the ending felt very not real. I mean, absolutely. Like, I would not have been surprised if Clarice was kind of a hallucination, kind of Fight Club, Tyler Durden. We talked about that. I thought about it when we first went through it, but there's sort of a validation scene where Mildred and Beatty both know Clarice exists. So in that sense, I would say, well, probably. I mean, my thought absolutely was he's hallucination, sort of an imaginary character, but they sort of validated it. But yeah, no, I mean, I would say absolutely.
The whole thing could be.
Right, the whole thing could
be him coming home one night after a fire and dreaming all of it.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And the same thing, yeah, the ending, I don't want to say it was rushed, but it was sort of my favorite thing, the Deus Ex Machina, the God in the Machine, where he's escaping and then boom, it's over, the city blows up. So I mean, it was sort of a quick ending, in that sense. Then Prepper Book Club says never heard of the 451 Fight Club mashup, but yeah, no, absolutely. Throw a little Fight Club in there. And then Prepper Book Club said the motto 1984 war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Yeah. I mean, I would not be surprised if they just used that. Yeah. So a funny part on that, the idea of cropping up in the media. So back when I was in California, I lived in Sacramento, which was the capital of California, and knew a lot of people that worked in government agencies and that kind of thing. Some guy that worked in a government agency, I don't remember which one it was, they were looking for a new slogan, right? Because all the agencies have their slogan. And he slipped in, hard work will set you free. And they're like, wow, that sounds great. And they actually posted it as the slogan for that government agency for like 5 minutes until someone's like, you realize what that is. And that's what was written on the gate at the Auschwitz prison camp. So I don't know if he got in trouble for that in some way. I imagine he did, but he slipped, hard work will set you free. And everyone's like, wow, that's great. That
now
sounds good.
I don't think people would care now.
Right, they wouldn't care now, but yeah.
Right now?
He slipped it in there. Yeah, he slipped in the hard work will set you free. And they kind of got in trouble for that one. They're like, no, you can't have that as the government agency's logo. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, especially the freedom, I think, in that case was you die from overwork. Just like
right. You're gonna it's Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave, kind of thing. Yeah, no one was getting out of there.
Yeah, expert level trolling.
It is, that's expert level trolling. That's career-ending trolling. I don't know if that happened.
You had a career in it.
Yeah, that's career-ending. Right, career-ending trolling right there. If you can get a state agency to do something like that. But the stuff like freedom, slavery, ignorance is strength, war is peace.
You probably got a promotion.
We probably did. Yeah. Now we're going into Slaughterhouse-Five, right?
Yeah.
We've been watching Lost.
I just said, Jesus, I'm done reading it.
Right. She finished it. I finished it. We've been watching Lost. We decided to go back and rewatch Lost because
I never finished it. I bailed, I think, on season 4, so I don't know how it ends.
Yeah, and I don't know either. I dropped out around season 3, so we're going back. Like, we're going to watch Lost. Nice. It's over 100 episodes. I mean, it's a commitment.
Sometimes you just need a 20-year-old show.
Right, a 20-year-old show with hundreds of hours of footage to get you by.
Right.
But
Good
going
old
into
Netflix and chill.
right, Netflix and chill.
It's on Hulu though.
Hulu and chill.
Oh.
But so in Fahrenheit 451, and I don't think this is a spoiler, the character Desmond from Lost is very much like the main character in Slaughterhouse
Desmond,
5.
the Scottish guy?
Yeah, the Scottish guy.
Okay.
He's like who?
The main character from Slaughterhouse
Monterey?
5. No, Slaughterhouse 5.
Oh, Slaughterhouse 5. Oh, Billy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I know, 20-year-old show. We're like, what? 20 years ago.
Mm.
Don't feel bad. I was in my 30s
right when it came out. Yeah.
I know, man. That's just I can't believe. It just feels so. Yeah, just like I remember we picked up a bottle of Shiraz and it said an 08 vintage, and I was like, oh, that's not that old. I was like, oh,
okay. Oh wait, that was a good year.
Like, wait a minute, it is.
Yeah.
Well, don't feel bad. My truck is a 2006 truck, and that's getting old. I'm coming up on 20 years on that thing. I'm like, I want to get at least 20 years out. It's got to make 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's good. That's good, man. Like all of these EVs and stuff, they're great. They're a very viable solution, but pumping out as many as possible is going to create emissions to create them from new. And so I think we need to have a balance, encourage people to keep their cars for longer and maintained while also introducing the EVs and stuff. So you're on
EVs here. We can't even run
electricity. Yeah.
They're
we
like,
don't have the electrical grid.
We just don't have it. Yeah. Now, if you lived in Illinois, you'd have it because see, I came from Chicago. So I understand that nuclear power is clean power and that it always works.
Yeah.
I mean, Illinois has the most nuclear power plants.
Yeah.
And when it's 40 below zero.
Right. The lights are still on.
The lights are still on and you're still heated because you're rolling nuclear power plants.
Right.
And
we're here in Texas.
They're discovering and inventing tech to use the spent. That was my biggest problem is what happens with the spent stuff. Like we're storing it all properly, but is that where's the memo in 50,000 years?
Right.
Change the containers or something. But I think they're inventing a lot of tech.
Yeah. That's a good point. Right.
I do agree. Yeah. But with the 20-year-old truck, Daniel, you're on a net neutral with emissions. You get
probably.
Oh, right.
Probably at this point. And cost.
You've got no footprints. Your footprints are rolling
backwards. Right. I'm gaining credits. Right. Well, and I did the math because I paid $14,500 for the truck 18 years ago. So when I look at $14,500 divided by 18 years, it costs me like $3 a day to drive to work. It costs me less than gas to actually make the payment and buy the truck. So, when you're getting that many years out of it, it really drops the cost a lot.
And the emissions over time and everything. Like, I think we should encourage people to keep their cars longer.
Right.
Really, I think that's a better solution than pumping out thousands and thousands of these EVs,
to get a new one every year.
Balance,
we need more balance. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Truck is probably still worth $12,000. Lotus said, honestly, it actually is probably still worth something, especially nowadays, the last year or two. All right. Then Prepper Book Club said, I think 1970s trucks are great. Easier to work on. Absolutely. Yeah. My truck is okay to work on. Honestly, even though it's almost 20 years old, I haven't had to do much at all. It just keeps running. So just some really minor stuff. Like it's holding up.
Well, that's because we don't care about looks. Like
I don't really care.
I have a 19-year-old Toyota.
Right. Her Toyota is a year older than my truck.
And I bought it and I said, I'm going to drive this Toyota into the ground. And I still am.
And we still will someday.
19 years old and it's still going.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Prepper Book Club's saying there. Easy to work on, not all of electronics. That's a way of the government control and the corporate control, because the older cars you could just fix yourself. You could just do a service.
Oh yeah, I held the light for my dad in the 70s. That was my job. Just holding the light so he could fix his old cars.
But now, like, a lot of mechanics are having to go back and do another year of apprenticing because the computers and the electronics in it, they're having a refresh, and so it's taking us away from being self-sufficient because we can't fix the stuff ourselves anymore.
Yeah. Right. I mean, absolutely. I remember my dad, if there was something wrong with his car, you would go to the junkyard and you would go find the parts in the car in the junkyard and you would take it out of the car and he'd put it in his, and that's how you fixed it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't do that now.
Right. Just recycle parts. Yeah. Yeah.
No, you can't do that now. That was fun. I loved going to the junkyard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, nowadays everything you just throw away and it's not worth anything anymore. But back
and these were the times like the people were living in when they wrote these books.
Right. It was
that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they understood that all this technology was going to jack a lot of stuff up.
Absolutely. And we got let's see. Prepper Book Club was saying wants a 1970s Land Cruiser. I would go for a 60s Mustang. I would still do that, but
Mustang, really?
Yeah.
I want my cousin's 1963 Barracuda.
Oh, you want that Barracuda?
Man, I love that Barracuda. That thing drives so smooth. It's where you turn the lights on. You know, remember, I don't know if you ever had a car, but if you turn the lights on by clicking your foot on the bottom left,
there was actually
side,
a button on the floor.
There's a button on the floor. Yeah, I love driving that car.
Yeah.
No power steering.
He would probably sell it to us.
Like he would sell it.
He would totally sell it
I
to
do
you
not
if you
need
wanted
to be
it.
driving that Barracuda. Love that.
You have to put the song by heart on while you're doing it.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, 7:51.
Yeah. What are we doing next?
So we're doing Slaughterhouse 5.
Slaughterhouse 5.
Right. Do you want to go next week or do you want 2 weeks, Jay? What do you want to do?
It's up to you guys. You guys seem pretty busy with.
Well, we both already read it, so we could go next weekend.
So it goes.
Yeah, if you're ready for next weekend, all right, then we'll jump into it next weekend.
Yeah. What about the guys in the chat? Are they all good? That too?
Yeah, next Sunday, Prepper Book Club, Lotus, same day, same time. I mean, it's Sunday. Book. It's Sunday our time, but it depends on where you're at. I know, Jay, for you, it's Monday morning.
Yeah, but this my. I've got a Monday's usually my free day, so it worked out perfect. It was just
penciled out.
Right, same day, same time, same bat channel, same bat time.
Yeah, but I love that. I love Batman.
Yeah. All right.
Actually, that might be an interesting dystopian topic to explore. Is the Gotham City, idea? Because I know that they like to do with Gotham City is like it's a mirror on all the bad society.
No, we'd be interesting. Yeah, look at maybe some of the early Batman or something like that.
I like the Christian Bale Batman.
Christian Bale, yeah. Well, I'm just thinking book wise. We'll have to see like where did Batman come in?
I hear Batman. I think Christian Bale. Downtown Chicago because that's where they. I saw the Batmobile down there when they were filming it.
Yeah.
It was. Val Kilmer was my.
Val Kilmer was your guy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love me some Christian Bale, and I know that somebody might be mad about it, but I think most recent Ben Affleck was a good.
He was actually a good Batman
because he was. I don't think he was a good Batman.
I thought he was a good Batman.
I think he was. Just really tortured.
Right.
Like he was really good as a tortured Bruce Wayne.
Right.
Like he was a better tortured Bruce Wayne than Christian Bale was. But Christian Bale was bad to the bone. He was way better as Batman.
Right. Yeah. Different personalities.
Yeah.
All right. So we got Lotus saying, hit up the Summer Round Slaughterhouse 5. I'm finishing 2 series as it is and want to finish Xenogenius. That's all right. And then Prepper Book Club says, I've actually never read that one, so I'll have to get it. Yeah, no, absolutely. And hopefully I'm not putting financial strain on anybody jumping through the books. I know books cost money.
Right.
I have found free online copies for every single one of these. I will pull up. I found Slaughterhouse 5 was a little bit difficult because I think it's 63. I think it was first published. So I found that one a little bit difficult. Where is my... Sorry, I'll just get so you guys can maybe give out the address. Where is it? I was reading it just before. Here we go. It's under readanybook.com.
Okay, readanybook.com.
Yeah,
Okay,
nice
awesome,
and easy to remember.
Yeah, I realize that. Like, I don't want to put financial strain on anybody. Be like, hey, buy this book, buy this book, buy this book.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you to buy Slaughterhouse 5.
Right. You would get a refund if you could.
Yeah. If I could call James Franco right now and tell him that I didn't appreciate his read of Slaughterhouse 5, I would.
Right. Yeah. In library. Right. Hopefully these would be available in the library. These are all very old books. So, all right. Prepper Book Club says no strain.
Yeah,
not
they
too
will
much.
say. Yeah. Usually they're just a couple of bucks anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just want to throw that out there. I'm not like, buy another book, buy another book. You're like, hey, I can't afford that. But all right, we'll wrap it up. Always, thank you, Jay. It's always appreciated.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate doing this with you. And thanks to everybody. Yeah, thanks to everybody in the comments that sat with us through this. We appreciate that. We got Lotus. One last comment from Lotus here. Love Ben Gott's Mine. He talks about, but I didn't know about that book, to be honest. Yeah. No, I get it. A lot of people.
I don't know about it either.
A lot of people shaking their head on that book, but
not my favorite. But I read it. I guess maybe it's something that you get through,
right?
And then you
appreciate it afterwards,
right? Like I know a friend of mine and I went on vacation, and when we were in the vacation, we were like, "This is the worst vacation that's you could ever take." But now years later, we laugh about the vacation.
Right.
You know, so sometimes you got to get through stuff that you could look through.
I didn't think it was that
and
bad.
Laugh about.
I didn't think it was that
He
bad.
liked it.
I liked it, but that's all right.
I think we have different views.
She likes having read
entertainment.
You read it,
right? I feel like I read it. Just getting through it's an accomplishment for me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad. All right. All right, guys. We're gonna kill it. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thanks.